Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talkin. Today I've got myself, Amin, I've got Lucy with me instead of Stuart. I think we've upgraded. We've got the lovely Andrew and Shelley as well. And the purpose of today is we are looking at business leaders, so yourself, Andrew, and yourself, Shelley. And it's lovely to have you obviously join us. I will give you a chance to talk about yourself shortly, but obviously, I will do a little tiny introduction. Shelley, you've obviously been in the umbrella temporary space for many, many years, and I will say you're an expert in the field. And Andrew, you've worked in the temporary space for many, many years as well. I think you go back all the way back to free agent days with my CEO, Killian, which I'm sure
I
you have
do.
many stories to tell us, but maybe not today. And you're now CEO of VIA, which again will give you a chance to tell us a bit more about because we are very keen to learn more about you as well. So, with that being said, we are obviously going to ask you a little bit of questions. Lucy is going to ask you first. That's going to ask the first question, but when she does, tell us a bit about yourself as well, and obviously what you do.
Yeah, so if I can just get you both to sort of introduce yourself, talk a bit about your companies, and maybe a bit of background experience. Shelley, if you want to go first.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Shelley, Ankers-Wainwright. So my business is Umbrella Ready and Saw Consulting, kind of between the two at the minute. So as Amin mentioned, I have been in Umbrella for 17 years. I don't like to say that out loud because it makes me feel really old. So yes, 17 years, 11 of those years were spent at one of the largest umbrellas in the industry. So when I left there in 2008, I was group sales director, but it was time for a change. Not too much of a change as it turns out because I'm still in umbrella, but that was the plan. I've had my own business now for just over 5 years. And I work with small to mid-size umbrellas, also startups, helping them to get everything right and in place from day one, make sure they're compliant, help them to obtain accreditation and navigate all of the compliance changes and things that are always happening in this industry.
And Andrew, yourself?
Well, firstly, thanks for inviting me onto the podcast. Great to be part of this. As you say, I'm Andrew Garvey. I'm the CEO and founder of VIA. VIA works with mainly software companies around sort of go-to-market issues, so just sales and marketing really in old money, but everywhere from defining which customers they should be going after to actually implementing outbound telephone campaigns and everything in between. So pretty wide. Not only do we give the strategy, we actually do stuff for these companies as well. It tends to be software companies looking to either break the UK market from outside or startups. I think similar to Shelley, I do a lot of work with startups. Before that, as you say, I've known Killian, CEO of Kintac, for about 12 years. We were together at Free Agent, so worked with a lot of the contractor accountants who also had umbrellas there. And I've been involved in that kind of accounting space for I'm going to call them the one-person businesses. It doesn't matter whether they go through an umbrella or a limited company.
Yeah.
So it's a space that is quite close to my heart, and I still have quite a few interests in that space.
Perfect.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Shelley, this next question's for you.
Okay.
Why did you choose to set up your own business, focusing on Umbrella Ready in particular?
Okay, so I'd love to say it was some sort of strategic plan, but it honestly wasn't. It was an accident, and that's the truth. So, as I mentioned, I left a large umbrella company, and the plan was to do something completely different. I'd kind of been there, done that, 11 years. It was time to move on, do something different. Ended up doing a little bit of contracting, kind of accidentally helping some friends that were setting up an umbrella and a couple of different things like that. And then COVID hit, and I thought, what am I going to do now? Because nobody's hiring. Where am I going to look for a job? I thought I'll just take a few months and just kind of decide what I'm going to do. And then, true story, my phone rang one day, and it was the owner of an umbrella business. I didn't know him. I didn't know the umbrella business, but he had been at a conference and met somebody who I also knew. and he was looking for support with FCSA accreditation and didn't have the bandwidth within the business to do it themselves and needed some external help. So he asked me if I would help them with it. I said yes, and that was 5 years ago, and it's just kind of snowballed from there, really. I think I had all these ideas to do something different, but everybody will know this, and Andrew, I'm sure you will understand this. When you've been in an industry for so long and you know so many people, it's really hard to not get drawn back into it, because that's where all your experience and all your contacts and everything are. So it wasn't a plan. It was a happy accident, and yeah, here we are 5 years later.
Amazing. And basically, Andrew, a bit similar question to yourself, because obviously as you said, you've worked in the one-man people, whatever you called it, space for a long time. So how have you found that? And obviously, how different is that to your current role, obviously being CEO at VIA?
Yeah, so I enjoy being self-employed. So I started out on my own, and I think the business has probably changed. I've been in business about 2 years, and it's probably changed over the last 6 months, really. So initially, it was me being a consultant on a sort of fractional basis for businesses. And about 6 months ago, I hired a few people to kind of help me scale it up. And so that's changed the business. We've got a few more clients now, and I'm not doing everything. So I think that the difference from when I was in the sort of the one-person business working in software startups is, even though they're small, you do tend to have a few people around you. Certainly the ones I had, even the startup that I was part of had sort of 5 people when we started. This was just me. Yeah. And I think the big difference is that when it's just you, it's great because you can just do what you like in theory. But it's also scary because you realize that all the decisions, all the pressure, all the kind of execution has to be done by you. And probably about a year ago, that kind of hit me that I can go in 2 directions really with this. One, I can stay on my own and dip in and out and do some consultancy, or I can have a go at scaling up and building something different. So I've kind of, as much as I have managed teams of, I think up to about, I think at one point my biggest team I managed was 25 people, and I thought, I'll never go back to that. And then you realize actually I could do with a hand here. So I've gone from, right, I'm going to be a lone wolf working on my own, which appealed to me hugely when I set the business up, to I probably can't do all this on my own. So I've kind of changed back. So as much as it was different, I imagine it'll probably become quite similar in the medium term.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Our next question is Shelley. Obviously, you focus with people, startups, and when starting your own business, obviously it doesn't come without risks. What would you say some perils and pitfalls of setting your own business, and ones that you see quite commonly?
I think it's different, really. If you're just talking generally, or if you're talking umbrella specific, but I think it's talking sort of generally from my experience, and I'm going to go back to what Andrew was saying now, that it is just me. And so going into it, it's all very exciting, and then suddenly you realise, oh, it is just me. So when the printer doesn't work, I can't ring IT. Do you know what I mean? I haven't got anybody, there's nobody to bounce ideas off. You don't have finance to ring, or, I am everything, and I have to wear every hat. And I think because of the way mine happened as well, really, and I hadn't really thought about it, I kind of wasn't really prepared for that. Having come from a big organisation, where there were hundreds and hundreds of people, the team I managed alone was sort of 65 at that time. And then suddenly it's just me on my own, with making all the decisions, doing everything. And that's quite scary. And I think you need to be aware going in that for a time, you may decide to scale, like as Andrew did, and recruit and grow the business. But for a time, you need to kind of know that you are probably going to have to do that and wear all the hats and do all the things at the beginning, especially. And, I still find that a challenge now, but I have made a very conscious decision not to go down the road of recruiting and expanding, and I have kept it deliberately as just me, because that's worked for my business. But it can be a downside for sure. And I think one of the other things that you don't consider is the unpaid time. So when you work for an organisation, if you want to take time to think about a project or a strategy, you're getting paid for that in your salary and the hours that you work. If I want to take time out of my business to work on the business, I'm not doing client work, so I don't get paid for that. And that's another kind of realization you go through and think, oh, okay. So sometimes you're so busy with client work because that's what pays your bills, and you're like, hang on, I need to step back and work on my business here. But that means I'm not going to get paid for a little bit because I can't do any client work. So I would definitely just make sure you really think about those things going into it, and almost that you've got your mindset in the right place, because it's a big change when you've worked for a business and an organisation, for sure.
No, I definitely get that as well. And it's funny you said the printer, because it reminded me of when we had a client. I think they were like a one-man band, and I think you rang us asking these printers not working.
Wasn't me,
And we're
was
like,
it?
we're like, we're payroll software. There's not much we can do about your printer, Lee.
Honestly, the air is blue in this house when I'm trying to print. It's one of the things, I always say it because it's so infuriating, and because I have to go and sort it, and I can't just ring IT support and go, will you please come and sort this printer? So yeah, it's a funny one, but it's just little things like that you don't think about, you know.
No, I'll give you our support number.
Yeah, please do.
And then just call for Lucy.
Please do.
And to be honest, similar question to yourself, Andrew, really, because obviously very similar to Shelley. What I've been sort of like, I think you kind of answered that a little bit before, but obviously if you want to go into a bit more detail, that'd be great. Like, what have you found? Obviously, worked great for you. What's been challenging?
I think leading on from what Shelley says, I think I was on holiday, went on holiday in August, and you don't think about when you work for someone, you book your holiday, you're gone for 7 days or whatever, and you might check your emails here and there. I was on a sunbed in Tenerife, and a new client wanted to meet up in London, and I needed to book a meeting room in the simple things. But I'm there, sort of phoning a Regis in near King's Cross to kind of book a meeting room from Tenerife to make sure it happens, and you don't get the chance to fully switch off. Even when you're away, you never switch off. So that's definitely one thing. Yeah. I'm better at that now. I'm trying to kind of delegate a bit, and that was, Shelley, I take your point. I didn't really want to scale, and I came to the point where I thought, actually, to enjoy the business, what I do to enjoy it, I probably need to delegate some of this to other people. And it was either freelancers or hire a couple of people, and I chose to hire because I tried the freelancer route, and it was just, you didn't sort of build that rapport up. But the other thing I think is incredible, and I say this as a real hypocrite, right? Because I've sold accounting software and compliance software, payroll for many years, and you kind of pay lip service to. There's a lot of admin when you run a business. When you actually run a business, the amount of admin that just happens, things like you've got to raise your own invoices, you've got to capture your expenses. Hiring these two people, I set them up on the accounting software and the payroll, fine. Registered with HMRC, which took ages just to register as an employer. And then Saturday morning, I was kind of watching the rugby upstairs, so just having 5 minutes before I was going to take the kids somewhere. And Vicky comes in and goes, "Oh, not good. There's a lot of brown envelopes here." And I was like, whenever you have a lot of brown envelopes as a business owner, you panic. And it was just all the pension stuff. It was all the kind of payroll setup and you go, geez, you just think, we're not, I'm not running Amazon here. I've got a few people, right? And you just think, it's frightening how much paperwork, like just simple things generate.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. And it's just so much to it as well that people forget. Even like debt collection. You're on your own debt collector as well, aren't you, when invoices aren't being paid?
It's crazy.
What we're going to ask you was, if you could go back 5 to 6 years, is there anything you would do differently with your businesses?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah. This is the question to both of you, so if you want to answer it, just jump in. This one is a bit more of a...
Yeah, I think for me, and I don't know if it's because of the way my business happened, but I think I probably would have backed myself a bit sooner. I think I tried to sort of stay under the radar a little bit. And I think it's back to that, I'd worked for this big company and I had this big name behind me and all these other people around me. And suddenly I was going, oh, hello, it's just me on my own. And that was really scary and I didn't want to do that. So I really kind of kept under the radar. And I was lucky that I kept getting business without really having to kind of stick my head above the parapet and start doing advertising and marketing and stuff like that. But actually, I think I've just had the best year I've had in my business, and perhaps if I'd have been a little bit more bold earlier on, maybe that would have happened last year or the year before. But I'm naturally a very introverted person, and so running your own business as an introvert is really difficult because you don't want to kind of put yourself out there, and so networking and all that sort of stuff, it's just not my bag. I know that's controversial. I'm not meant to say it. I'm meant to say I love it because I've got a business. I hate networking. So I've really just tried to do everything myself, and in hindsight I think I should have just backed myself and put myself out there a little bit more early on. I don't know if Andrew can relate to it.
Exactly what I was going to say. I think I wish I'd done it sooner. So for me, I had some great experiences. Obviously, the free agent with Kelly, that was great fun because it was a scale up really. So startup scale up when I was there, and then I went to Counting Up for 4 years, and that was a startup, and that was great fun. And I spent 2 years at a big corporate, and the reality of it is, I hated. The reason I left that is I hated being in a big corporate. It's too slow. Spent nearly a decade in startups. And I've always been fairly entrepreneurial. I realized then that's not for me at all, right? I think the startup scale up, that kind of level of business is great. I wish I'd done it earlier. I should have probably done it when I left Counting Up, rather than gone and taken the sort of the nice salary that was on offer. And don't get me wrong, it was great. And to be fair, I learned some things from that. I did learn some things, but it probably took. I think I'd spent a decade in really entrepreneurial environments, which probably equipped me to do what I'm doing now. And that 2 years probably took a little bit of that off me, rather than hitting it when I was really, really entrepreneurial. I almost had to rebuild and relearn some of that. Well, just get on with it now. So exactly the same as Shelley. I think I'm quite extroverted, but even extroverts, I think, can sometimes doubt themselves. It's the old imposter syndrome, and you doubt yourself. And should I do it? Is it? I've got two girls, 2 teenage girls, my wife. You can think, I better keep doing the safe option, because actually a safe option pays the bills and the mortgage and all these kind of things. Actually, it's much more fun. It's much more fun doing this. It's risky. You don't know from realistically. You tend to have some kind of visibility of what the next few months or so are going to look like, but ultimately there's no guarantee. But I quite like that now. I think that was the thing I probably feared the most when I started up. And now it's probably the thing that motivates me the most, I would say.
Yeah,
that's really good. It's really interesting that obviously, if introvert, extrovert, you both basically give the same answer. So I think for anyone for people who are listening, who are maybe have got an idea that they really want to go to the market with and they want to start up, I think what I'm getting from that is, if you want to do it, you've got to just do it. I think the longer you take, or the less you back yourself, I think the more you're going to regret that down the line. Would you agree with that?
I think so. I think I would have regretted, had I come to the end of my career and never having set something up. I think I'd have regretted that more than even if you had to go and it didn't work out, right? Because there's no guarantee. But then I've got so many friends who work in big companies, and a slash of a pen, even if they're decent performers, they're gone because of the strategy change. There's no safety. The one thing I would say is there's no such thing as security either. That's the one thing I would say in any environment.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think working in a big corporate gives you security. It absolutely doesn't. There is no such thing anymore. And yeah, it's really scary when it's you and you have to bring money into the house, and you've had a salary, and suddenly it's like, well, if I don't find a client, I'm not going to get any money. And it is scary. And I'm sure Andrew can relate to this. You have ups and downs and peaks and troughs, like in any business. But for me, the pros always massively outweigh the cons. And I think, to your point, Amin, about if you want to do it, just do it. Honestly, I don't think I ever would have done it. And I'm so glad it happened the way that it did happen. And actually, even if I'd have took 2 years planning it and trying to be all strategic about what I was going to go to market with, it probably wouldn't have been much different than what I've actually ended up with, really. Yeah. So I think you do have to back yourself, and the imposter syndrome is a massive thing. I struggle with that so much, but you have to get over it. You have to just get in the right mindset and get over it, because you've got to get clients, you've got to earn money, you've got to crack on, and you've got to just do it. And yeah, if anybody's thinking about it, honestly, I don't think I could ever go back to working for anybody else again. I would struggle massively. there are a lot of downsides, but there are so many more upsides to it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm actually going to do Back to the Future 3 now, rather than and go 5 years in the future with a Marty McFly. Where do you see you guys in the next 5 years? And it could be your business, the industry. I'm quite curious to dig into your minds and see what you think we're going to see in the next 5 years. Because I think, obviously, from Shelley's perspective, the umbrella market, I think, has changed so much just in the last 5 years. Well, obviously, Andrew, from a business perspective, SaaS perspective, that's changed. Bear in mind when you guys would have started a free agent, was AI even a thing? Whereas AI is literally in everything. Like, it's even in what we're using today.
Well, Killian will say he was sort of artificial intelligence. He's kind of an augmented intelligence. So he will say he was ahead of the curve, no doubt about that. And working with him was definitely an experience. But what do I think? I think 5 years ago, I don't think AI was really a thing in terms of the mainstream that it is now. So you look what's happened over the last probably 3 years. I use things like ChatGPT and AI, Copilot. It's almost, I probably use those more than Google now, I would say. So I'm scared to make any predictions. I think the one prediction I would have, and again, speaking as someone who's got 2 teenage kids, the one skill I think that's going to be, the one skill that's going to be vital forever now is being adaptable and being prepared to learn. So I think it's not a case of, I can do this one thing really, really well, because that one thing might just be removed totally by AI. The biggest skill now are people who can just adapt. And I think, I don't know whether I think this is probably related to the umbrella industry, but just business as a whole. I think the job for life, I think PAYE jobs, I think they'll go. I think it'll be more contract. I think people's relationship with who employs them will change a lot, because there won't be the 40-hour week. I can see that eventually go in, and people just saying, right, we need someone to do HR, marketing, finance for this number of hours per week. And you might have 3 or 4 different employers, more like what Shelley and I do. So I think the world is going down that direction, which I think is a big change for a lot of people, but I think it's inevitable now.
I would agree with a lot of that. Even though we're doing different things, I think, as you mentioned, Amin, I don't even want to try and predict what's going to happen in Umbrella, because the changes I've seen in the last 17 years have just been unreal. And next year's probably going to be the biggest example of that. And we just don't know. Technology is going to play a really big part in this space, as well as it will in any industry. But I think, to Andrew's point, it's about being adaptable, and umbrellas, as I know it today, might not be the same in 3 years' time, but there will be an iteration of it. So I just have to make sure that me, my business, and my clients adapt to that, and I help them along the way. And I think that's all we can really do.
Yeah, I agree.
Makes sense.
I think definitely adaptation is definitely the way forward.
Yeah.
This question's for you, Andrew. Obviously, with the advances in marketing, AI, social media, for industry and SaaS, why do you think it's more important than ever to now have your brand have a clear marketing strategy?
I think that's a great question. I think the delivery, even the smallest businesses now can build a product and get to market relatively easy, right? You can buy tools now for hundreds of pounds that would have cost tens of thousands of pounds. Yeah. Things like email tools, social media management, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Even software development. If you look at AI, I was speaking to a client who's built a lot of their app using Lovable, one of these AI builders, so you can get apps to market. I think that's great. I think what a brand gives you is, it's not just, I always see a brand as not just the product or the service or the fonts or the logos. It's kind of the whole package. I think people now, whatever you're selling, doesn't matter if it's software or a service or anything. It used to be people would be happy, here's how you do it, or here's something you can complete that task with. So here's a bit of software you can complete that task with, or here's how you can do it. I think people are looking more for a combined offering now. They want people who can tell them what to do, but also can do it for them and just get stuck into it. And I think AI allows, Shelley, you're on your own in your business, but realistically with AI, you can probably produce the same output as 5-6 employees 5-6 years ago, really, if you need to produce things, because you can get things checked. So I think a brand becomes really important because it's about trusting the outcome, not about the inputs, it's the outcome. If I go to this company, I'm going to get this outcome. Apple is the cliched one, right? You know, if you buy an iPhone, it's just going to work. It's nothing to do with the software, nothing to do with the hardware. It's just I buy that, I plug it in, I transfer my old data in, and it works. And I think that's what makes a brand. It does what it says. As in Ron Seal, I use the Ron Seal one as well.
If it doesn't work, you know there's an Apple shop probably within a 10, 15-minute drive where you would go in, they'll literally stop the phone for you there and then.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just on that AI point, and I know that wasn't the question, but just to jump in on that, because Andrew said to me, I probably about 3 months ago really only started using AI properly, because the guy that is kind of my mentor, if you like, sort of said, are you using it? And I went, yeah, you know, I kind of use ChatGPT now instead of Google, like Andrew said, and he's like, no, but are you using it? Are you using it to help you in your business? Are you using it almost as an employee? And I was like, no. And honestly, it's literally changed my life. I'm not to sound dramatic, but I'm more efficient. I'm quicker to respond to people. I can take on more work. The difference that it's made when you understand what it can actually do and how it can help you, particularly for me who doesn't have other people. Like, you know, me and my husband affectionately, we've called him Sam. ChatGPT is called Sam because I talk about him like he is an employee, because he has become such a part of my business. And I think, you know, a lot of me saying it's kind of been my best year, and all, it is because I've been able to take on so much more and produce more work and have a bigger output. And sort of improve turnaround times and things like that. So, you know, the opportunities with AI, I know there's a lot of negativity around it, and I do get that, but we've got to embrace it, because actually what it can do is phenomenal. And for me personally, it's just been, it's been unbelievable, the help that it's given my business.
No, I agree, and I know we kind of really moved away from the question. Lucy
Yeah,
asked,
sorry,
but
that was my fault. I'm very
I think it is
passionate about AI now, so I had to jump in.
it is really relevant though, because I think the way people have to look at it is, it's not here to replace you
Yeah.
as long as you carry on doing what's right. What AI is a tool which would really change your everyday at work or whatever it is that you do. It doesn't even have to be work. Like, I don't want to go off track, but like as a hobby, I've started writing a book and I'm using AI as my little PA.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm building this world, I'm telling my little PA, like, this is what it is I'm building. So if I forget what the name of a planet was, I'll ask my little PA. I might call him Bob. I won't steal Sam from Shelley. But and that's what it is. It is a tool, and I think people need to remember that. And I think that kind of I'm actually going to change my next question to you slightly, because I was going to ask you a question about what advice you would give to new umbrella companies. But what I'm going to ask you is obviously what advice would you give if anyone is setting up their own umbrella? But do you also see a world where AI can help make umbrellas better and more compliant, especially with GSL and the changes coming in April 2026?
Yeah, so I think this is where I have to look at AI a bit differently. So I think if I take that question to slightly different bits, so what I would say to somebody starting an umbrella company is absolutely try and do things right from day one. Because if I look at my clients over the past 5 years, 70% of them have probably been in their infancy stage. So maybe they've launched and they've maybe been going for 6, 12, 18 months, but they've done it poorly. You know, they've got a contract, they've got some software, they've got a bank account, and they've gone, let's go. It's not good enough. You're not going to stand the test of time. You're certainly not going to survive 2026 and the changes. So do things right from day one. Get things right. Spend the time, because trying to fix it afterwards is really difficult, actually. It's much easier to just do things right from the beginning. I think with regards to the AI question, absolutely there is going to be a place for it. I don't necessarily know what that is yet, and what I think would be really dangerous is for people to start using AI to solve all their problems. Like, how can I, deal with JSL in 2026? What we have to remember is AI doesn't know everything. It's not always factually correct. It gets stuff wrong. I have to check everything that it spits out, but that's still quicker than me having to do everything. The checking part is still quicker. So I think we need to just be really careful that we're not relying on it to do the work for us, but that we're using it to help us do the work. You still need the people, you still need the eyes on, you still need the experience, but absolutely use it to help you, but not to do the work for you, I would say.
No, I think I can agree with that fully. Perfect. So, I think I'm going to pass it over to you, Lucy.
Yeah, so I think that's come to the end of the sort of the serious bit, the industry bit, and we'll move on to sort of our new fun section. So this one we like to start with asking our guests some fun facts that maybe the industry don't know about you. So Shelley, if you want to start, anything that you want to share that people might not know about you?
Gosh, this makes me, I'm not a very interesting person, I'm not sure. Interesting facts, wow. So I was on the telly once on a Trinny and Susanna programme about what called What Not to Wear, and I spent like 4 days filming in London, and then I was on the show for about 45 seconds. So that was wonderful. I don't have a lot of interesting facts. I mean, I'm a big Liverpool fan, but that's far from interesting at the moment. That's depressing. So we're not going to.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We should have done this in probably before June then.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bad time. It would have been a whole other conversation if you'd have asked me that a few months ago. Yeah, oh gosh, you really put me on the spot there. I can't really think of anything too interesting.
I'll follow up on that. Is Steven Gerrard a Premier League legend?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Even though he's never won a Premier League medal?
Of course he is. The fact that you're
100%.
asking it shows that he is, because everybody knows who he is. Of course he is a Premier League legend.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, to be honest, I do like Steven Gerrard, and I do think we miss characters like that in football now.
Definitely.
I do think we. Imagine him right now playing. He'd be probably 10 times
I wish he
better than what he was back.
I think with him, I think that most of the players seem to go sideways or backwards now, whereas he was always going forwards. There's not enough players in the Premier League who actually say, right, let's go and attack. And I think as a football coach of nearly 10 years, and done a few UEFA courses, I find it boring. I find football boring. I think going back to the point of this, which is about business, it's the risk has gone out of football, and that's what makes things exciting. I think the Premier League, 20 years ago was much more entertaining, and I think that's now it's not. It just isn't anymore.
No, and I feel like certain players would never make it in the Premier League now. Like, I feel like your Ronaldinhos and your Neymars and them sort of skillful players, just managing Premier League be telling them, no, pass the back, don't lose the ball. And I think we kind of seen it with Grealish, didn't we? Where he went from being this really flamboyant free player, went to Man City, had to play like a chess piece, and he just killed them.
Who knew we were going to start talking about football?
I know, I didn't see that one coming. So, similar question to you, Andrew. What fun fact or facts do you have about yourself?
Well, two. One is similar to Sean. I was when I was 13. I was in Florida, and I was on a Nickelodeon teen show called Welcome Freshman, and I played a high school basketball player. So that's my one. I've said that a few times. And the real one, the one that my wife takes the mick out of me for, is I love bridges. I just love the programs about bridges being built, and I'm the biggest nerd in the world, to the extent that the three of my two kids took me for my 40th to Iron Bridge. It's a guilty pleasure. If a Discovery program around the Brooklyn Bridge being built is on, that's me done. I'm sat down there and watching that. So that's something that can definitely be used against me. That's probably a hidden fact about me. I love bridges. Pathetic.
You've never been to Newcastle? We bloody love bridges, yeah?
Oh, yeah, that's a great bridge up there. That's a fantastic bridge. Walked across that a few times.
We've got 7 of them. Brilliant.
Brilliant. Great city.
Do you know what? I remember watching the documentary in school about the time bridge being built. That was impressive.
It's amazing. It's amazing how these things were built years ago with the technology there. I find it incredible how some of these things are built. I think that's what fascinates me. Like now, you look at
Yeah,
it's just how do you build things like that without the tech we've got now?
no, and what was crazy is that they would build it in like what 10 years, and then it takes us 20 years, I think, to
To get
renovate it.
to get planning to get planning for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if we move on to the next section, which is sort of a standard now in our little podcasts that we do. Normally, Amin and Stuart obviously take the reins, but little do they know that I was the one who
Upgraded.
actually did the question.
We've upgraded this time to Lucy. I don't think we're going to make Stuart come back. I think he
He's
keeps getting the
sacked.
reserve.
He's sacked from the podcast,
Just from the
obviously.
podcast.
Yeah,
Not,
just from the,
not from Kintech in general.
no, we'd be a relying Robin without Stuart. We're missing our fourth wheel.
But yeah, so it's just a little game of this or that. We'll give you two options, quick fire, and then tell us which one you prefer. Andrew, if you answer first, and then Shelley after.
Okay.
So, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night out.
I can't answer that quickly because I'm both. I'm an insomniac and I have kids, so I go to bed late and I wake up early. So I'm both involuntarily
Do you know
both.
what? That is literally my life at the moment. I am literally always been a night owl. I like going to bed after midnight, but then I've got Aria jumping on me thinking that pretending I'm a horse at like 6 in the morning.
Yeah, I can
So I
relate
have
to
to be
that.
both.
Yeah, exactly. I am both. Yeah, honestly, it is both for me.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee when I'm out, tea when I'm at home. I can't just give you a straight answer. I'm so awkward. I'm sorry.
So for Shelley, it's this and this.
I like, yeah, it's both. Honestly, I like both.
Calls or emails?
Calls.
Emails.
Be famous for your work or super rich but unknown?
Super rich but unknown.
Same. I know I should probably say the other one, but definitely not.
See,
No, I'm definitely.
I am gonna chip in here because when me and Stuart do it, we're always the opposite. Because I'd rather be famous than rich because I think that's the only way you gain immortality. But Stuart always went for super rich but unknown because he wanted to stay under the radar.
Yeah.
But one person who's never answered this question is actually Lucy.
Oh, there we go. Then Lucy, come on.
Come on, Lucy.
Definitely super rich but unknown.
Yeah.
See, I'm the odd one out then.
Yeah. You must just crave attention.
Yeah.
No comment.
If you could have a superpower, would it be flying or being invisible?
Flying.
Invisible, definitely. Introvert's dream to be invisible.
And then I guess an extrovert's dream to fly and see the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to just be a fly on the wall in conversations.
I don't think you'd be able to do that. You just got to build the fly, Lucy. So they're still going to see a big human on the wall.
But see, I'm invisible, so I can be in the room and listen.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
Beach or city breaks?
It's a hard one. I'm going to go beach, I think. Close. Close.
It is hard. City breaks for adults, beach for kids. I can't choose.
Love it.
Sorry.
No, I find that hard. I like both. I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like both.
I really like both. And I think it also depends on the longevity of the break,
Yeah.
isn't it? If you're somewhere for 3-4 days, I think a city break's perfect. But
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
doing a 10 days, 14 days inclusive, I think that's only so much city walking you can do.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, everyone. Obviously, we've been going for 40 minutes now, so I'm actually really impressed. Really enjoyed it. It was funny as well. So I do obviously appreciate both of you giving your time to come and join us today. So I do really appreciate that. And obviously, if anyone wants to find out a bit more about you guys, are they happy to reach out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, please do.
Perfect.
LinkedIn is
Perfect.
the best probably way to
So
contact me.
obviously, when we do share it, guys, we'll obviously please look for Shelley and Andrew's detail on there. And if you listen to podcasts, we'll see if we can put it on Spotify as well.
Yeah, it
I'll
should
leave
be
that
on
one to Lucy.
Spotify.
She can be the tech guru for that one. Well, thank you so much. Do
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you joining
Pleasure.
us.